What's going on, everyone? Bryce Gelman here today with a very special guest, someone that I have been trying to get on my Twitter/YouTube for months now. It's been in the works. So glad we were able to get something done today and get this live and running. Just waiting for Alex to hop on the StreamYard here, the live stream. But yeah, this guy is one of my favorite Knicks follows. He is probably the best Knicks Twitter handle at Knicks Central. I don't know how he got it. We're going to talk about that with him. But he's also the host of the Bad Weather Fans podcast, where him and this other guy, Mike, who's a Nets fan. I don't understand it. I for the life of me will not be able to understand the fact that he is able to talk to a Nets fan for his podcast all the time. That is beyond. That is something I want to talk with him about that as well. But yeah, we're going to get into a bunch of different things today, stemming from like the idea of the Knicks inconsistencies being 4-5 in January. As I see, my Wi-Fi is already screwing up here. So yeah, we're gonna talk about it all. We're gonna get into a bunch of different things. As here we go. We got Alex right here. Alex, what's up, man?
What's going on? Sorry about the delay. I had to fix my hair, do my makeup, the whole thing. So I'm here to go, ready to go.
No worry. I'm already on that. So listen, you're just catching up here. So what's going on, man? How's everything?
Everything's great, man. Everything's great. Knicks are winning. I'm good to go, man. How can you be upset? So
well, that's the thing. That's the whole thing. The Knicks are 4-5 in January, and they're 27-15. They're 2 games behind Boston for the 2nd seed. They're 3.5 games up of Milwaukee for the 3 seed. Everything on paper looks amazing, right? Like there shouldn't be any issues, but there are fans up in arms left and right about this and that and that. And I want to take a step back with you and just examine this from all different angles. But is there a problem with this team right now? Because on paper, it doesn't seem like there is.
There's no problem. You know what the problem is? Is that the expectations of fans. Listen, there's going to be ups and downs in the regular season. Towns is now hurt. You have players all over the place, Mikal Bridges drops 41 on Christmas, then has 0 points a couple weeks later, things like that. There's a little inconsistency for individual players, but the team overall has been consistent. They now won 3 of their last 5 games. They're doing all right. They're in the 3 seed. They're completely firmly locked in the 3 seed. I forgot who's the 4 seed, but they're a couple games away from them. It's not, they'll have to lose out like a couple games in a row for the other team to catch them. I think it's the Bucks, right? It was a 4 seed. I don't remember.
Yeah, but they just passed Orlando for the 3 seed.
Okay. Yeah.
To the 4 seed for the 4 seed.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I'm just typing in. I want to retweet this link to see if people can get on it. You're on Twitter. It's live on Twitter. And here we go. I'm going to do this right now.
Yeah, there we
Come
go.
watch us live.
There we go. Hey, dude, listen. I told you before that my Wi-Fi has just been completely. It's the most frustrating thing that I have to deal with. And let me know. Because
we're good. We're good.
I could reset here.
We're good. We're good.
Listen. All right, cool. Good. Amazing. So listen, I think that I spoke about this the other day. Like the idea, the minutes police, people are up in arms about the Knicks starters playing 40+ minutes a game. If you didn't know, the entire Knicks starting lineup is top 10. I don't know if this is the case after Cat sat this last game against the Sixers, but before that game, all 5 Knicks starters were in the top 10 of total minutes played in the entire NBA. And I discussed this, and I hear where people are coming from with this argument. But my whole thing about it, and maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, is what the hell are they supposed to do? What is Tom Thibodeau supposed to do about this? These guys need to play, considering how bad the Knicks depth is.
Yeah, and it's also, part of the reason why they're in the top 5 in minutes played is that they haven't had injuries and they haven't had rest days, which we love as fans because you go to a game. I know you're a season ticket holder. You go to a game, you're going to get your guys. Like, look at the Sixers the other day. They're playing the Thunder at home, right? And they benched the whole team because they were trying to prep for the Knicks. And guess what? We still beat them. So, it's like you got to respect the game, and karma will come around on your side. And Towns has an injury, so he'll drop out of the top minutes per game, total minutes in whatever. It's just so silly. It's just the one thing that Tibbs can do to fix some of this minute stuff to get people off his back, and it's probably the right thing, in my opinion, as well, is that when you're up 20 or 30 or down 20 or 30 with 5-6 minutes left, just take everybody off the floor. You don't have to have these guys down in the last 2 minutes of the game when you're up 25.
That's the thing.
Yeah, that's something you could
thing,
fix.
Alex. That's That's the one indefensible thing that Tom Thibodeau does, and that's my biggest thing with Tom Thibodeau. Like, I really believe that the Knicks had the same, or if let's say the Heat had the same roster, let's say the Spurs, and you have these amazing coaches coaching that team with the personnel that the Knicks have. You're telling me that Steve Kerr, you're telling me that Eric Spoelstra, Greg Popovich aren't playing the starters as much as Tom Thibodeau is playing the starters? You're telling me that they're playing Tyler Kolek 20 minutes? No, absolutely not. But I think all of us can agree on the one thing is that Tom Thibodeau, listen, if you're up 15 points with 2 minutes, get these guys out. What the hell are you doing playing them with 5 minutes to go? You're up 35. Get them out of the game. It's extremely frustrating. That's it, though. Anything about the Knicks playing their starters way too much, Tom Thibodeau. Listen, these guys, and we're going to get into OG Anunoby because I really wanted to talk about him. He's one sore spot that I've seen throughout the course of the last 2 months, and I think it's because he's playing too much. But these guys are looking a little bit more gassed, Alex, in each one of these games. Besides Brunson, maybe.
They are, but they're also in a gauntlet part of their schedule. Like before they hit it, I posted it. It was like 19 games in 34 days. And they're in the middle of that right now. And any team is going to get tired. There's ups and downs in the regular season. They have a game every other day and sometimes back-to-back. They don't have 2 days off for a long time. And it's great for fans. We get to watch them every other day. You know there's going to be a game. But it's a lot for these guys, especially that back-to-back where they're in OKC and then they're in Chicago. They got to travel in between a back-to-back. Like, that's insane. So, like, luckily they lost in the in-season tournament, so they had like 5 or 6 days off going into this. Because imagine if they won that game versus the Hawks, where Trae Young is doing the fake dice on at center court like an idiot. You know, they would have to be playing all the way through, and then who knows what kind of condition these people will be, the players will be in. But at the same time, I hear you that there could be a little bit of bencher guys and things like that, but I just love it, man. I love the fact that these guys are playing all the time. I love the fact that these guys want to play. I love these guys, that the fact that these guys play hard. It's really a throwback to the way the NBA was and what we want the NBA to be. You can't be on one side of your mouth, say the NBA is soft, they rest players all the time, nobody plays hard. And then you have a team like the Knicks who does play hard, plays every game, does not rest players, plays everybody 35, 40 minutes a night, and then complain about it. You know, obviously there could be a happy medium there, like we talked about. You know, if it's a blowout, bench him for the fourth quarter. Like, what are we doing? Like, let's relax there. Like, we can agree there. But other than that, like, there's nothing you can do. Just get your conditioning up, man. And let's go. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you do mention the fact that the NBA is like, this is only one team, though. You still have 29 other teams that are pissing people off left and right because of how they play the game. Yes, the Knicks are that one team, but you almost at the same time want to be like, well, why aren't you like all the other teams? Why aren't you going with a rest day? Why aren't you trying to circumnavigate the load management rules in the NBA? Why aren't you taking a game and just being like, you know what, whatever, we'll take the loss? Like one of those 2 OKC games, yes, I understand the need to win one of those games for the morale and just for, the overall ego of the team to be like, hey, we are a championship team. But one of those games easily could have been a rest day. Easily. Or one of these back-to-back games they've had. I don't know. I just think that it's a little extreme when it comes to playing all of these guys each game. Like Mikal Bridges hasn't missed a game. OG Anunoby, I don't think he's missed a game. I know Josh Hart missed a game for personal reasons, but other than that, he's played every game. Brunson's missed a couple games. Cat's missed a couple. Like, how about just for once, let's just take a rest day? Can you imagine OG Anunoby with a rest day at this point? He's as gassed as I've ever seen any professional athlete gassed in my entire life.
You know what? Then that's on Tibbs to get him to play maybe a little less minutes in a game and notice that, hey, he might be gassed a little bit. But the problem is they don't have anybody on the bench that they can really turn to, So that's the other thing. Yeah. So that's roster construction. That's another problem. That's something where we lost Dante. That was a problem, and that was one of the biggest losses, probably the biggest loss this offseason was losing Dante DiVincenzo, because without him, you're like, with him coming into this season, we're like, we have the best bench in the NBA. You take him off the roster, literally, in that Towns trade. If it's just Towns for Randall, we're good. We're rolling. We're happy. You lose Hartenstein, whatever. You got Mitch, he'll come back. Precious, we can fill that in. Even Sims can give us some minutes. But losing Dante really killed that bench. And they need to add somebody. But the problem with the stupid NBA CBA is that, you're stuck at the apron and you're right at the edge. We just had Jake Fisher on my podcast, Bad Weather Fans. He's explaining to us, he's like, the only way you could trade Mitch for somebody is if somebody who's like literally the same amount of money as them, and that's Jonas Valanciunas, Robert Williams, Kelly Olynyk. I'm like, for what? Jonas is old, and Robert Williams is always hurt too, might as well just keep your guy. And Kelly Olynyk, no thanks. That's a Celtic. He can stay over there wherever he is now. I don't even care. No thanks for him. He's a dirty player who pulled Kevin Love's arm out of his socket in the playoffs years ago. Like, forget him. But Mitchell Robinson's our guy. He's the longest tenured Knick. He'll be back soon. There's no point of waiting this entire season for Mitchell Robinson to come back, only to when he comes back and is healthy, and then you trade him for Robert Williams. Like, what are we doing here? Just keep Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah.
He's in the playoffs. He always gets the big offensive rebound, man. Like, that. Like, it's crazy. But anyway.
And you look at the top team in the Eastern Conference, Alex, and it's the Caps this year. They have been unbelievable, single-digit losses. They're much better than who the Celtics have been, who the Knicks have been as well, by extension. Right. The reason why they won that series and the matter they won that series, that the first round in the 2023 playoffs, was because of Mitchell Robinson. It wasn't because of Jalen Brunson. It definitely wasn't because of Julius Randle. It was because of Mitchell Robinson, who dominated. And they have two really solid bigs. One guy on his own was able to take on two of the best big men in the NBA and dominated them. And that's the guy the Knicks have right now. I understand the need to look elsewhere and be like, oh, well, we want to trade. The guy has no trade value. Zero trade value with his availability, with the off the court stuff, the weird Instagram posts, whatever. I mean, that's another story for another day. If you choose to be annoyed at that, then that's on you. I don't have an issue with that. I think he each his own.
Today's athlete. Yeah,
but
it's today's
Mitchell
athlete.
Robinson, he on his own has so much more value to the Knicks than to any other team. At this point, his value is so low. To what's the point of trying to and they can't. This is the issue. I'm sure they really wanted him back by January to evaluate what they had in the month and a half before the trade deadline. That's unfortunately not reality, because it seems like he won't be back until maybe before or after the All-Star break, which is whatever. I mean, it's what you come to expect.
Be back for the playoffs.
Robinson. But
come
again, Alex, that's all that matters. And as long as he stays healthy, that's all that matters. And there's just so much more value that he has to the Knicks than he does to any other team.
Yeah, and the camaraderie that he has with the players already, he'll catch lobs from Deuce and whoever else. He's one of the guys, and he's one of those guys, I know you're a big football guy, you're a Giants guy, but with you and Moresh, but the Jets, you see how they are always on social media and they're posting all this nonsense, and that usually shows immaturity. But I think with Mitchell Robinson, I think he's really hurt that they tried to trade him this offseason. The rumor came out, that's true, that Mitchell Robinson was in the deal with Julius Randle. They didn't want to trade Dante. And they tried to trade for Towns all from the draft all the way to when they traded for Towns. And Mitch knew that. So that's why this whole summer he's having these cryptic posts on social media. And everyone's like, what is going on with him? And then it turns out that you hear that story. And honestly, you don't blame him. You know what I mean? He plays his heart out. He gets thrown on the floor by Joel Embiid and injured. When he's coming back from injured in the playoffs, shutting Embiid down when Hartenstein couldn't, by the way. And then he comes back and you want to trade me now. And that's awful. You know what I'm saying? And now he's hurt and he's hearing the rumors of everybody wants to trade me. Nobody believes in me. And some of these injuries are just not his fault. And I look back to Marcus Camby, where it's just, he was on the Knicks for so long and he was hurt all the time, dominated in the playoffs, finals run, et cetera, et cetera. One of the main guys on the team got suspended for punching Danny Ferry and accidentally hitting Jeff Van Gundy in the face. And there was a lot of things there. And he was injured for a couple of years and then they traded him for him and Nene for Antonio McDyess. And then Camby goes on to lead the league in blocks for years, win Defensive Player of the Year. That is Mitchell Robinson. And I know that somebody's going to say, well, he's not as good as Camby, et cetera, et cetera. He might not be, but he's pretty damn close. And he just plays the same way. He can jump out of the gym when he's healthy. He can grab the offensive rebounds. He's one of the best shot blockers in the game, that when he's on the floor, his presence there, it's like having Wemby on the floor, poor man's Wemby on the floor, where it's like, you don't come in the lane. Mitchell Robinson's there. You're not going to test him. And he gets the blocks where Clyde loves it, where he taps the ball and keeps it in play. He doesn't swat it into the fifth row and where it's still their ball. He taps it, gets the ball, and they're rolling, and he blocks with both hands. There's no reason why Mitchell Robinson should be traded, especially for a guy like Jonas Valanciunas or Robert Williams or Kelly Olynyk. Let's just roll with Mitchell Robinson and hope for the best. And in the offseason, let's reassess the roster.
It's just, you don't know who he is going to be when he comes back. You don't know after yet another ankle injury. And this is not the bad one, the one that has been bad. This is the other ankle. So for him to come back with two bad ankles, with as athletic as he is, with the type of player that he is, he doesn't really bring you much with the fundamentals. He's not a fundamental big. On defense, he stopped the fouling. He goes straight up. He's gotten very good at that because, if you remember, he fouled a lot in his rookie and sophomore years. But with Mitchell Robinson on two bad ankles, does that concern you at all? I mean, it definitely concerns me, for sure.
Yeah, it's concerning for sure. But I think the grass isn't always greener. You know what I mean? Like, it's concerning, but that's who he is. When he's on the floor, he's going to give you an old defensive team performance. And when he's off, but you don't know how long he's going to be on the floor. And there's, of course, risk. But you know what? He's the longest tenured Knick. Let's stand by him for this season at least. And then maybe in the future as well, if he can stay healthy, because I have, and maybe it's just PTSD. And it really might be PTSD of Marcus Camby. But I'm telling you, man, like, this guy's going to put it all together at some point. It's just, there's just such bad luck. And this isn't even like, injuries where it's like lack of conditioning. Like, he got himself into shape. He was a skinny nothing when he first came into the NBA, and he was so raw, got himself into shape, got more polished, still can't shoot, whatever. It's not his game. But you know what? At some point, how old is he now? He's still young. At some point, he's gonna hit
26, 27, I think.
Yeah, right, going into his prime. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It just let the guy.
Yeah, I mean, we go. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
26 years old. Mitchell Robinson. If you remember, they drafted him technically out of high school. He had that like gap year, didn't play.
Right. I mean, he came over in the Melo 26. Trade.
Yeah, 26, turning 27 April 1st. Realistically, a guy like that should be in his prime, but with injuries and injury after injury after injury, will he be that same type of player? That's the biggest question mark, and I've been saying it since the start of the year, Alex, is like, we know what we have with this Knicks team. I think the starting lineup as it stands is the most talented starting lineup in NBA history. I don't think that's
NBA history. I don't know about NBA history.
Yes. Look at. I'm telling you, I know. When I first said it, I was like, I got a lot of pushback, and then like I was thinking about it. I'm like, when you realistically think about this starting lineup, what they had to do in order to get that starting lineup, you understand with the lack of depth they have, with the depth they had before, they had to trade all that depth away, and you look at the talent in that starting lineup. They could have two starters in the All-Star game. They have two of the best wing defenders and the best Swiss Army knife in the NBA in Josh Hart. I realistically think it has an argument to be made for a top 5 starting lineup in NBA history. It's just the bench, it leaves a lot to be desired. You know what I mean? So it's like with Mitchell Robinson, you get him back. You don't have to play pressure. Here's the thing with Precious Achiuwa. You don't have to play him as the backup center. He could be the backup 4 behind Towns. I think changes everything because OG Anunoby is playing so much of the 4, you can't take him out. You take him out. Who comes in? Precious just comes in at the 5. You know what I mean? We haven't really seen much of Precious and Cat at the same time, mostly because OG Anunoby's playing 40 minutes a game. I would like to see the interchangeability of that starting lineup and the depth and the rotations change a little bit when they get Mitchell Robinson back. Precious Achiuwa can go back to his natural position at the 4, and OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges, by extension, can get a little bit of rest because you can play one of those guys on their own. You don't have to worry about playing them both at the same time because Mikal can't play the 4. It opens up so many possibilities.
It does, and hopefully I think it's by March they can call up TJ Warren, and then you have that wing guy. I mean, he's like the quadruple A player right now, so he's not great for the NBA, but dominates the G League. But so that'd be good. But don't give me. I don't like when fans are telling me, "Oh, play Daddy, Daddy Pacome, whatever his name is." The rookie, it's just he's just not ready. You know what I mean? You see him, and he had a couple of times, and he threw up some air balls. He just wasn't ready. And
he's a teenager.
And
he's straight up a teenager.
He's a kid. And from another, it's just like it's just give him a chance. Kolek, I think he's buried behind the point guards. He's not going to play. But you know what? Give Huck Borty some minutes and move Precious over. Give him a shot.
He's as inept as Jericho Sims times 10 on offense.
Yeah.
Like he can't listen, he couldn't hit water.
Last pick in the draft, So I get it. And
this is who we're talking about. These are the options that Tom Thibodeau has to deal with on his bench. Like
Daddy was a first round pick. You know what I mean? Yeah. Daddy was a first round pick.
He was more of a long-term prospect.
Stash,
we all thought he was going to be a drafted stash, and he ends up being like, I want to come. So, okay, you want to come, you want to learn from the best, you want to learn from, the Brunsons, the Bridges and the Anunobys of the world. Okay, fine. But you're not going to get much time to play as a kid. He has a lot of potential. I could see in 2 to 3 years him being a major piece because we know for the next 4 years, this team will be assembled as it is currently assembled. Well, obviously, there will be some changes. Campaign probably won't be on the roster next year. He's going to get a bigger deal. Right. You look it up and down the roster, but the starting 5, as it stands, with the contracts that they all have, it depends on what happens with Bridges. I'd assume that he's going to re-sign with the Knicks, maybe on a team friendly deal, maybe not. Either way, Mikal Bridges, hopefully they're going to have him going forward as well. So listen, this is, that pick of Dadier was a long-term thing. Kolek, I don't know. I think maybe he could be used as trade asset. I wouldn't mind to see that. I would like to keep him, obviously, but if he's got to go, he's got to go.
He's not a keeper. It's just whatever. If he goes, he goes. If he stays, he stays. Maybe he's Deuce McBride. Maybe he sits for 2 years and then turns into a player.
And speaking of Deuce, I really don't want to see him traded. I can't see that. I can't do it.
Unless you're getting me somebody that's like legitimate. I don't want to see him go either. He's just one of those. You need some guys that are Knicks. You know what I'm saying? You need guys that are like Mitchell Robinson, Deuce McBride, guys that are our guys. And leave him on the team just to make it feel like it's still our team. You know what I mean? You're not going to get much better for Deuce McBride.
And Alex, the tough nose, to the tough
football player
mentality. I'm going to bust your ass on defense. That's the type of guy the Knicks need. That's what they're missing from last year is the lack of toughness and intensity. Right. They still get it from Hart. They still get it from Brunson on the offensive end. But they're other than that, where is that intensity? Where's that toughness? Deuce provides it off the bench. He is so needed on this team.
Yeah, he's like a pit bull, and he has the I think he played college football. He was a football player growing up or something, and he plays really aggressive. Remember he had that play in the playoffs where he stripped the ball and took the ball right out of somebody's hands. I forgot who it was. Mm-hmm. He's got it, man, and he could shoot. He can get hot. He can give you 30 one night. He might not always give you 30, obviously. He's not going to actually, but he's always going to give you 8 to 12. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to get that bench production from him regardless every night, and that's what hurt them when he was out. And you really showed it,
And Alex, 3 years, $13 million. Yeah. 3 years, like
right. He's got to get a new agent.
Yeah, he does. Well, I think it was for the security part of hey, I haven't really played much,
yet.
This is my one chance. Yeah, it was just a genius move, mastermind move by Leon Rose.
If you think about it.
It's
whatever. It's business.
It's
business.
It's business. Exactly. Yeah. Business, whatever. But I think that's one of the most valuable contracts in the NBA. When you look at what role players are getting, 10, 15, 20, the fact that OG Anunoby got 5 years, $205 million, like that, and I'm going to, I'm going to use this as a perfect segue. Yeah. We're going to talk about OG right now because he is concerning. His play for me has been concerning. He was arguably he was playing like an all NBA player before late November. I think the game in which he went off and then after that just was, has been depleted version of himself was the Nuggets game. They blew out the Nuggets, put up 140 plus against the Nuggets. And since then, Alex, he's had 10 games under 10 points. Before that, only one. One. So that's been a month and a half sample size, 10 games out of probably like 25 games. He is a 53.4% true shooting percentage in December. The league average is 57.5. 55.8 true shooting percentage in January. So he's picking up his game. But what's your concern level with OG Anunoby?
I'm very concerned because this is a guy who took every cent. This is a guy who, didn't leave any money on the table. And that's fine. That's his right. But it's also my right as a fan to be like, okay, now we're capped out at the apron and we can't do anything because you took every cent. I'm not saying you should leave $113 million on the table like Jalen Brunson did. He did it because he's got the keys to the franchise. He's gonna make so much money off the court. He wants to win a championship. He's already, came into the game, with money. You know what I'm saying? He's fine. But with OG Anunoby, it's just like, did you have to take every cent? And now that you did, we can't do anything else to upgrade the roster. So you know what you need to do? You need to step up your game a little more. It's not okay to just be a defensive player. At the very least, hit that wide open corner three, man. Like, he hit it last night, fine. But you gotta hit that three.
3 for 11 from deep last night.
Right. But he had a big one at the end of the game, I think, right? He
did, to put them up 5 with about a minute and 10 seconds left. And of course, the Knicks blew that lead.
Of course. That was a nuts game. But yeah, no, OG's got to give us more on the offensive side of the ball for sure. Well, because
it's not just
his game to go up the dribble, though,
But on defense, he's not the same player that he was earlier on in the year. He's still a top 10 defender in the NBA, but he was the best. The best wing defender. Him and Dyson Daniels, 1A, 1B earlier on this year. His stocks are way down.
Yeah.
His stocks are way down. Yeah. And his plus minuses have not been as good as we've been accustomed to see from OG Anunoby. So I don't know. I think it's just the guy is being overplayed. He plays 45 minutes last night. Like, how much more of this guy?
I didn't even realize that. 45
minutes. How much more of this guy can you? Yeah, the overtime. How much more of this guy can you possibly ask? Like, it's not his fault that he's playing as poor as he is right now. But when you looked at when he started the season, he was rested. He had the time off in the offseason to get right. Following the hamstring injury last year, he comes back. And he's a beast in that first month of the season till November 25th against the Nuggets. And he goes up. And listen, he's had 3 good games in January. He played well against Toronto, played well against OKC, and he played well against Utah. But again, it's few and far in between with OG Anunoby. And I think it's starting to, his offensive struggles are starting to seep into the defensive end.
Yeah. And that's what happens. It's like use a baseball analogy. It's hard to be a DH because you don't get to make up for when you're 0 for 4 in the field to feel good about yourself and get back rolling, So like last night, like you look what happened last night at the end of the fourth quarter. The ball, they were trying to get the ball to Brunson. They doubled him, of course. So they had to get it in. They gave it to OG. And he should have popped a 3 right there because he's not going to take it off the dribble because then you can get a tip in or something. Like there was like 3 seconds left, but then he takes it off the dribble and he's going nowhere. It's like, that's not your game. I thought he hit it. I was like, oh shit. Like I thought that was good, but it didn't go in obviously. And it was an air ball. Like I think he might've grazed the rim, but that's not his game. And that's the problem. If it's not your game to take it off the dribble, you need to hit the open 3 in the corner, and you need to drive with some aggression like he did in OT. He got that big dunk on the sideline. You have to get to the hoop, and when there's an opening, get to the hoop like you did in the playoffs last year when you dunked on Embiid. That's the kind of guy you need to be. You need to show up when your number is called and somebody drives and they kick it out to you. You have to hit that shot consistently. Otherwise, you're an overpaid defensive stopper, and that's a big problem. But it's a max contract, and it's not even like Fred VanVleet over in Houston where obviously there's certain situations you need to give a guy a max deal and pay them. And that was what Houston had to do with Fred VanVleet. They needed an adult in the room. They needed a point guard. They needed somebody to help them out. And it's worked for them. With OG, he kind of had the Knicks by the stones, Yeah. You trade 2 fan favorites in RJ and Quickly, and you have this amazing run. You trade for Mikal. He's probably a little upset. And then you got to pay him. You had no choice. So, you know what? I get it. But at the same time, it's like, now you got the money. Now you got the spotlight. You can't go out there and play with heavy pockets and play a little slower. You gotta show up, man. Yeah.
I don't think he's to blame for this, though. I don't think it's his fault that he's playing the most minutes of his career. I mean, the last time he played as many minutes as he played this year was 2021, 2022 with the Raptors, a game in which, might I add, he only played 43, 44 games that entire year. So you're looking at a potentially dangerous situation right now with OG Anunoby running a hunker. He just does not look like he's 100% running up and down the court. But I don't know. I get it. This isn't. Hopefully, this is the hope, is that when Mitchell Robinson comes back, Precious Achiuwa could start eating into some OG Anunoby at the 4 minutes. You put Mitchell Robinson in at the 5. OG doesn't have to continuously match up with bigger guys down low, bruising type guys, bigs. And you're able to get these guys a little bit more rest. But right now, this is unsustainable. And I've said it repeatedly. I just don't think that what we are seeing right now going forward is sustainable in order to win a championship. And I think that's why both of us are underlining the importance of Mitchell Robinson so much, because like, what else could they possibly do? That's the one intangible. That's the one thing that could change this season.
Right. Or somebody shakes loose on the buyout market. That's a wing that you add to the bench. That's the other thing that wants to take like the Knicks in the 54 win Melo year when Kenyon Martin walks through the door. You're like, holy crap. It's like we got these guys that they actually want to come to the Knicks, and take that, minimum contract for the rest of the year to try to win a championship. There's going to be somebody that shakes loose. And that's the thing is like with Leon Rose.
No pun intended. Last year was Shake Milton. That was that shook
and
loose.
He's playing well, man. I don't know why they didn't give him any minutes either, but he's not that great. But, I forgot what I was. Like with Leon Rose, I've learned to trust him, and I've tweeted this a lot out on at Knicks Central. But like, I've learned to trust him. Every time over the last couple of years, I'm like, you have to make a trade, you have to do something, you have to do it. Like banging my head against the wall. He doesn't do anything, and then it works out. So I think that he has a plan. He's got the agent connections. He knows who's shaking loose in the buyout market. He knows who's going to be available in the trade market. He knows the value of his guys. He's got cap guys that are incredible. There is no way the Knicks are going to go into this playoff without adding somebody. At the very least, they're going to call up TJ Warren and give you 5 minutes off the bench just to spell, just to give you professional NBA minutes. And it is concerning that nobody's signed TJ Warren and he's dominating the G League, considering that anybody can sign him right now and it wouldn't cost you anything but money. But I think
he's a traffic cone on defense. That's why.
Yeah, it's true. But also,
Tom Thibodeau does not like playing guys who just do not bring in a defensive end. Look what happened with Evan Fournier. He was capable of putting up 35 points at any given night. Tom Thibodeau refused to play the guy. to suck on defense.
It's true. When you're not given the production on the offensive side, then you can't get on the court on the defensive side. I get because of the defensive side. So I get that. Just they got to add somebody. And I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be Mitchell Robinson. It's just the roster is a little flawed. And that's what happens when you make 2 monster trades in the offseason and you don't have the time to add. And I know it's about this season, but also going into next season, the Knicks are going to be even more loaded because they're going to be able to get guys that maybe you go over the apron because now you can get guys in there that are actually quality players that aren't going to cause you to go over the aprons for no reason. You're not going to be the Suns and be ridiculous with it, but you're going to get somebody. You might have to go into the second apron, but you know what? Now you have a championship team and you have a legitimate window. Like right now they have a window. There's no dominant team in the NBA right now. Cavs are playing awesome. But you know what? It's not like the LeBron Heat. It's not like the Celtics with the Paul Pierce and those guys.
I think you're underselling how good OKC is. OKC is great.
No, they're
everything
great.
they're selling.
And they come at you like at every different angle. They have every single player on the team. Yeah,
their defensive rating. Their defensive rating is like 102.5 right now. You know the next closest team is 107.
Yeah,
in the last month, they've been playing some of the best defense we've ever seen, and it's been without Chet Holmgren and Alex Caruso. It's insane how good they are without 2 of their best defenders. It's unbelievable how good that team is, and with all the picks they possess going forward. The one thing is the new CBA.
They're going to get hit. They're going to get hit.
We're all screaming and crying and moaning about it, but we're about to get blessed. Because they're not going to be able to pay all these guys. Because listen, right now, as it stands, they've got like 4 or 5 guys, the role players that could make $20-30 million a year.
Right.
That's what we're talking.
They're going to keep the certain guys.
Chet's going to make the Supermax. He's going to get the Supermax.
Jalen Williams is going to make money too.
He's going to get the Supermax. At some point, Hartenstein is going to be expendable by the end of his deal. I think he's got a team option at the end of that deal.
Yeah, he's got 2 with an option for a third. The team option.
Yeah, $29 million a year. You really think they're going to pay that guy?
No.
$29 million.
Especially hurt again, man.
Jalen.
He's hurt again. Yeah, he's out again. But no, I hear you on OKC, and they might be OKC might be the Knicks antidote because like they really are, or the kryptonite, I should say. They really are the anti-Knicks. They're as deep as they possibly could be. They come at you from all angles with all different players, and the Knicks are an 8-man rotation that are top heavy. So. Yep. I hear you on that. That's going to be tough if they get to the finals, but I would love to have that problem. Once we'll get into the finals. Let's see what happens. But I'm not afraid of OKC, but yes, they are a dominant 100%. Team. It's not what I mean is that there's no team that's been like winning for years. And like the Warriors were, the Cavs, the Heat, those kind of like how it's always been in the history of the NBA. Like there was like 5 NBA champions from like 1980 to 2010. So it's just with the Mavericks just sprinkled in there. It's one of the teams, So like this is not the way the NBA has been with the parity. And I think that's what they wanted with this new CBA. It's frustrating, but it also helps other teams stay afloat and have a chance. There's not like, we know who's going to win the NBA championship from the beginning of the season. So just
give us one. All we want is
that's
one
it.
ring.
Give
us one ring.
Dude.
I need to see one in my life. I'm not going to get greedy. If we win one, that's it. Like I'm going to go celebrate, go on a bender for 7 days, call out sick of work, and we're going to party, and then that's it, and then I'm good. Let me ask you one thing before. This is not related to anything. Yeah. You have one of the best. Handles in all of Twitter at Nick Central. First off, how did you get that? Second off, has anyone come to you asking to buy that?
No, honestly, I had a blog. So back in college, I blogged, and the blog was called Nick Central. I just made it up, and I got on Twitter to promote the blog. I wrote for a bunch of different sites. This is all like 15 years ago. I was on a bunch of different blogs. It was called Fan vs. Fan, one that was called MVN. And I was just bouncing around. Father Knickerbocker was a blog, and I always had my blog as Nick Central. And then I went on Fan vs. Fan, and it was called Nick's at the Nick Central or something like that. And then I went on Twitter to promote the blog, and so I used that Nick Central because it's what was always my blog's names. And then I went in there to promote it. Then I stopped promoting it. And I said, you know what? I had enough blogging. I was getting out of college, and I didn't have the time, and it wasn't really making that much money off of it. But I stayed on Twitter and developed a little bit of a following. And then, I interacted with Mike Biseglia, my co-host, and we started Bad Weather Fans. And then I kept going and it kept growing and growing and growing. And I'm like, all right, whatever. Let's see where this goes, on the side, keep my day job, whatever. But that's how I got Nick Central. And no one's ever approached me to buy it or to take the handle. But I do feel that I get a lot of hate from a lot of people who are jealous that I have the handle, especially the Instagram.
Yeah, me.
Yeah, especially the Instagram page. Nick Central took my tag before I can get on Instagram, and now I just have my own private Instagram. I don't even promote on Instagram, But, so like they took my handle and that's a huge page on Instagram. Shout out to them. They do a good job. But, it's just, I think that a lot of people come at me in the beginning because of my handle, just because they're jealous of the following and that I have the handle and stuff like that. It is what it is. I know I say a lot of dumb shit sometimes, so I always
yeah.
like,
Well,
I was
gonna say I don't think it's the handle. I think it's the occasional like, what did he say? What?
It's all good, man. You know what? I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm always gonna give everybody like my honest opinion. Sometimes that'll make me look like an idiot, but you know what? Sometimes I'll be right, and it's just is what it is. It's sports talk, and who cares? You know what I mean? Like I'm not, we're not curing cancer here. So I I can be a little aggressive, but it is what it is. People who are fuck with me, and people who don't, and I don't really care. It is what it is. I'm just keep doing what I'm doing, and if I ever blow one day, I'll be happy that I did it the right way. And if not, keep living my life and work my day job and have my family and be happy. Like it is what it is.
That's a great mindset to have, and I'll blame you. All right, so let's wrap here. I really appreciate this, man. I want to do this more. Like we got to do this at least 5-6 more times the rest of the year. We'll discuss our schedules. I know you got to get back to your day job, but as you mentioned, you actually have one. I do too, unfortunately. But no, this did well. This is fun. This was fun. You could check out Alex at Knicks Central, as we mentioned a million times, and of course he's the host of the Bad Weather Fans podcast. I said this before you got in here, that the fact that you host a podcast with a Nets fan is commendable as ever. So
Mike's not so bad.
He's one of 10 Nets fans that I know of. So there's not many of them.
Well, you host a podcast with a Nets fan too. You and Maresh.
And he's one of the 10. He's one of the 10. I don't understand where these people come from. I really don't know.
No, I don't know. I don't know either. Growing up, and there were New Jersey Nets, and I didn't know any Nets fans growing up in Long Island.
Well, I'm from Jersey, and some people know this, but I was a Nets fan growing up. Straight up Nets fan. I went to because my grandpa had season tickets. One of the grandpas had the Knicks, and the other one had Nets. Nets were 15, 20 minutes away, and they weren't gazillion dollars. So I go to 10 to 15 Nets games a year, and also it was just easy. The Nets. I'm from Jersey, whatever. Yeah. And then eventually the second they moved, I'm like, screw this team. I'm done. I'm a Knicks fan. Oh. That was it.
Okay. So you came over to the right side of things.
Yeah.
And you're also pretty young, I'm sure, right? When they moved. How old were you when they moved? I
think they moved. They at least I stopped being a fan when they announced it. So this is like 2010, 2011, and that was it. I was like, screw them.
Oh, so you were young. Done. So you were still young enough to make the switch. When people are switching when they're 25, 30 years old, it's like, come on, man. Like, you're not a fan.
No, I also endured some really rough years. I endured a lot of terrible Kevin Seraphin minutes and Chris Duhans. You know what I mean? Like,
good days.
I suffered. Chris
Duhan had that one game with the assist when he had the Nick assist record, I think.
I take that back. I'm not going to Chris Duhan, that's unfair.
No, he was actually don't worry about it.
I mean, like the Lou Admondsons,
yes,
Cole
Aldrich. Yeah.
Cole Aldrich. I experienced that. So whatever whatever hate you want to give me, screw you. I've been a Knicks fan, as diehard of a Knicks fan as anyone.
You are, for sure. I co-sign. You muted yourself, by the way. There you go.
This Wi-Fi is a
all right. Well, I think we
we'll do this again soon. And all right, man. Pleasure.
Right.
We'll talk
soon.
Later.
I lost you. Thanks, Bryce. See ya.